to welcome everyone to your Arkansas state capitol and to this celebration of one of Arkansas's greatest heroes and citizen, Captain Maurice Footsie Britt. Coming off this past weekend's semi-quincentennial celebration, today's recognition of one of Arkansas's finest is so fitting. But before we begin, I want to recognize some of the leaders that we have with us today. We have members of the Britt family with us, and we're so grateful that you're here to celebrate Footsie's life and legacy. Thanks for being with us. We have the Deputy Secretary of the Veterans Administration, Dr. Paul Lawrence, representing the federal government, along with representatives from the offices of my colleagues, Senator Cotton, Senator Bozeman, and Congressman Womack, Crawford, and Westerman. We're honored to have our Governor, Sarah Sanders, with us, as well as constitutional officers. I see the Attorney General, the Lieutenant Governor, our Secretary of State, and many of the Arkansas General Assembly and the Governor's Cabinet. We also have former Lieutenant Governors here as well, in honor of the fact that Footsie served us so well as our Lieutenant Governor so many years ago. And it's a special treat for me today to say the words Kevin Cressy in front of this great group, my longtime family friend from 5 decades ago when we were both at Catholic high school. Kevin is the sculptor who's brought Captain Britt to life to join this amazing collection of history here in our state capitol. But what's amazing about this journey and what Kevin's done for our state capitol is it now joins his extraordinary work, his Johnny Cash, which is now in the collection at the United States Capitol in Washington, D.C. And so, Kevin, we're so proud of you, and I still hope you don't hold it against me that I took your sister to prom in high school. We're glad to have our Arkansas National Guard Adjutant General, General Bridges, with us today, as well as several retired general officers share the presence today, and we're grateful for those who earned that star and served in the defense of our country. We were entertained this morning by the great 106th Army Band, and the Governor's Color Guard is here from the Arkansas National Guard, as long as other members of our Guard family. The Military Order of Purple Heart and every veteran service organization are represented with us this morning as well. And to the citizens that contributed the funds for this bust, and to the Secretary of State's office, thank you. We would not be here today without your generosity and leadership here at the Capitol. And it's a special treat because of Footsie's devoted service to the Razorbacks that Dr. Charles Robinson is with us, Chancellor of the University of Arkansas. So if all of you would please rise, if you're able, for the posting of the colors by the Governor's Color Guard, and remain standing for the invocation by Army National Guard State Chaplain Jeremy Miller, the Pledge of Allegiance by Andrea Britt Schaefer, daughter of Footsie Britt, and the National Anthem, sung by Senior Airman Trigan McAlver, United States Air Force.
I invite you to bow and pray with me this morning. Lord, we have gathered here today, and honor is first due to you. Lord, thank you for this nation. Thank you for the colors that stand in front of me and those who have served long and proud and defended this nation, Lord, against all enemies. I pray, and I thank you today for the Britt family and this bust that we're going to be revealing here in just a moment, for the hard work and the dedication that has gone in the long hours to prepare not only this ceremony, but Lord, this life, this legacy that we have that the Britt family, as well as all of Arkansas, can rejoice in. Lord, I pray now for this ceremony to show honor and glory where it is due. And we pray this, Jesus, in your most beautiful name. Amen.
So proudly we hailed at the twilight's last gleaming, whose broad stripes and bright stars through the perilous fight o'er the ramparts we walked were so gallantly streaming, and the rocket's bright glare, the bombs bursting in air, gave proof through the night that our flag was still there. Oh, say does that star-spangled banner yet wave for the land of the free and the home of the brave?
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
You may be seated. Several of our leaders today of our state and nation will rise to speak and honor Maurice Footsie Britt, including our governor, our state representative Joey Carr, who offered the legislation to provide for this bust, Dr. Lawrence from the VA, and Dr. Robinson from the University of Arkansas. They're going to talk about what an extraordinary man Footsie Britt was and celebrate our semi-quincentennial as one of our great events for A250 honoring Footsie. He'll talk about the importance of those who've worn the uniform in the defense of our country, and of course the extraordinary life and example of Captain Britt. But before they do that, I thought I'd spend a minute and talk about the man before the legend, the man the family knew so well and that they've gathered today in his memory and his honor. Born in Carlisle, future Captain Britt moved to nearby Lone Oak as a young boy, where he and his little brother Basil were raised by their mom and dad. At just 13 years old, his father, Morris Lee Britt, died from injuries sustained in an industrial accident years earlier. There was little time to grieve. His mom, Virgie, suddenly found herself raising two boys during the Depression, and Footsie stepped up, something that he would do time and time again throughout his life. He went to work, stacking wood, picking fruit, chopping cotton, doing whatever it could take to help put food on the table. He studied just as hard as he worked. He won essay contests. His teachers praised his command of Latin and English. And somewhere along the way, a grade school teacher decided that his name, Morris, was spelled wrong and changed it on the record to Maurice. Everybody called him Footsie because he had exceptionally large feet, so he never paid much attention to it. It wasn't until decades later, when he requested a copy of his birth certificate, that he discovered that his legal name had been Morris all along. But by then, Maurice had followed him through school, through the NFL, into the Army, on his Medal of Honor, and onto the bust that we will unveil today. Footsie was a three-sport star at Lone Oak High School. He was named captain of the football team, the basketball team, and the track team, and was the valedictorian of his class in 1937. Maurice Britt's reputation only grew at the University of Arkansas. He served as sports editor of the Arkansas Traveler, a reflection of his love of writing, all while playing basketball and football for the Razorbacks. His performance on the football field was so impressive that the Detroit Lions drafted him in 1941. He joined the Lions just months before World War II reached America's shores. And having completed ROTC training at the University of Arkansas, Footsie Britt entered the Army as a second lieutenant. When the call came, he traded the football field for the battlefield. Though his football career was cut short, it was long enough for his teammates to recognize something very special in their teammate. Fellow Arkansan and future NFL player Neil Adams watched Footsie take a beating on the field week after week. And week after week, he got back up. Adams said he could take any amount of punishment, and he was the 60-minute man. There was simply no quit in him. Looking back years later, Adams also recalled, I also thought he would make a great leader. That was 1941, before North Africa, before Italy, before Footsie became one of our most decorated Arkansans in our state's history. Adams had no way of knowing what lay ahead. He simply recognized that that young man from Lone Oak had the same qualities that earned the trust of his teachers, classmates, and teammates for years. That's the boy behind the bronze that you're about to see unveiled today. He was not born a legend or a hero. He earned every bit of it. He was a boy who lost his dad young, worked to keep his family fed, studied because it mattered to him, and every team he was on, he worked hard. The rest of his life, the battlefield, the Medal of Honor, his service as our lieutenant governor, his devotion to his family, all rested on that foundation built as a young man in Carlisle. And that's a lesson that all young Arkansans and young Americans across our country can take to heart. There's simply no quit in him. With perseverance, you too can pursue happiness and build a successful life. I now would like to introduce and bring to the podium Mr. Toby Knight, President of the Society of the 3rd Infantry Division, to recite the full Medal of Honor citation of Captain Britt.
Madam Governor, Madam Lieutenant Governor, ladies and gentlemen, distinguished guests, thank you very much for having me here today. My name is Toby Knight, and I am a dog-faced soldier. It is my honor to read to you the words that were spoken during Captain Maurice Footsie Britt's Medal of Honor award ceremony on June the 7th of 1944. He was born June 29th of 1919, and he was 3 weeks away from his 25th birthday. He was assigned to Lima Company 3rd Battalion, 30th Infantry Regiment of the famed 3rd Infantry Division, the Rock of the Marne Division. His Medal of Honor citation reads, "For conspicuous gallantry and intrepidity at the risk of his life above and beyond the call of duty. Disdaining enemy hand grenades and close-range machine gun pistols, machine guns, and rifles, Lieutenant Britt inspired and led a handful of his men in repelling a bitter counterattack by approximately 100 Germans against his company positions north of Mignano, Italy, on the morning of 10 November 1943. During the intense firefight, Lieutenant Britt's canteen and field glasses were shattered. A bullet pierced his side. His chest, face, and hands were covered with grenade wounds. Despite his wounds, for which he refused to accept medical attention until ordered to do so by his battalion commander following the battle, he personally killed 5 and wounded an untold number of Germans, wiped out 1 enemy machine gun crew, fired 5 clips of carbine and an undetermined amount of M1 rifle ammunition, and threw 32 fragmentary grenades. His bold, aggressive actions utterly disregarding superior enemy numbers, resulted in the capture of 4 Germans, 2 of them wounded, and enabled several captured Americans to escape. Lieutenant Britt's undaunted courage and prowess in arms were largely responsible for repulsing a German counterattack, which, if successful, would have isolated his battalion and destroyed his company, unquote. Captain Britt's combat service in North Africa, and he started in North Africa, and he participated in the capture of Casablanca. Then he went on to participate in the landings of Sicily and the liberation of Salerno. That not being enough, he landed on the bloody beaches of Anzio, Italy, and spent months grinding his way out of the sands and then through the woods and hills of Foglio. The Germans were bent on killing the Americans and stopping the advance up the Italian peninsula. As U.S. forces moved north to cut off the enemy's escape to Rome via Highway 6, Maurice Britt fought on the mountains and hills of Mignano. His actions were in conjunction with other soon-to-be very famous heroes like Floyd K. Lindstrom and Audie L. Murphy. These men all fought on the same hill known as Monte Rotondo. This area is now known as the Land of Medals, since more medals were awarded to the 3rd Infantry Division in World War II in Italy than any other place. Thank you all for allowing me to participate today and to honor one of Arkansas's most decorated heroes, Rock of the Marne.
Thank you so much, Mr. Knight. It's now my privilege and honor to bring up my good friend and our governor, Sarah Huckabee Sanders, for remarks. Sarah Sanders is the 47th governor of Arkansas, the first woman to serve as governor, and currently the youngest governor in our country. Prior to her election, she served the White House as press secretary. Sarah grew up in Pine Bluff and Texarkana, but she's a proud graduate of Little Rock Central High School and Ouachita Baptist University. She lives in Little Rock with her husband Brian and their kids, Scarlett, Huck, and George, and the golden retriever, Traveler, who I got to see at work in Pangburn, 4th of July in the parade, and that dog's a glutton for heat. But anyway, your governor, Sarah Sanders.
Thank you and good morning. We weren't too sure Traveler was going to make it through that entire parade. He laid down about halfway through and nearly refused to get back up. He could learn a few lessons from the grit and determination of the man we're here to celebrate today. It is a special day to be here and to join with so many friends here in the Arkansas State Capitol. I want to thank Congressman Hill for the kind introduction, but more importantly for being the single driving force behind today's celebration of Lieutenant Governor Footsie Britt and the bust that we are here to unveil. Without his tireless efforts, this would not be possible, and we would not be here celebrating this incredible Arkansan and true American hero. Thank you for your leadership. Can we please recognize Congressman Hill? Today we're going to honor one great Arkansan and American, somebody I think that we can all draw inspiration from, and we're going to hear a lot of different stories and moments and accolades. But we also want to take time to thank all of those individuals who so selflessly serve our state and our country. If I could ask anyone who has served or is currently serving in our armed forces to please stand and be recognized. We get to live free in the greatest country that the world has ever known because of men and women who are willing to put on our nation's uniform and defend that freedom and make sure it is passed on, protected, preserved. And so thank you for your service and your commitment to our state and to our country. I also want to say thank you to the Britt family for joining us and to Toby Knight for his excellent summary of Lieutenant Governor Britt's life and legacy. We're also joined by Dr. Paul Lawrence, Deputy Secretary of the VA, many members of our constitutional delegation who do a phenomenal job representing our state, members of our legislature, including Representative Carr, who we will hear from here in a moment, and Chancellor Robinson and Coach Silverfield. Coach, no pressure, but we're all very excited to welcome you to Arkansas, and football season is just around the corner, and we're expecting big things this season. I also want to say thank you to just an unbelievable talent, and Congressman Hill mentioned him earlier, but Kevin Cressy has done just a spectacular job representing Arkansas across the nation, and his work not only will be here in our state capitol, but also makes every Arkansan proud with the work that is on display at our U.S. Capitol. So thank you, Kevin, for sharing your talents with all of us. I know many of us are coming off of a weekend of fun celebrating America's 250th birthday. I was lucky enough to walk in a parade alongside Congressman Hill in Pangburn before I had the chance to spend time with my family that evening. But one of the more moving moments of the day came from Washington, where President Trump honored a number of World War II veterans, many of whom are now over 100 years old, some of who fought in the most intense battles of that conflict, including Pearl Harbor, D-Day, and Iwo Jima. I count myself blessed to have grown up at a time when many of our greatest generation were still with us and could share their memories. Footsie Britt was like so many of his peers, exceptional in his bravery, patriotism, and humility, but common in a generation in which so many were brave, patriotic, and humble. Last summer, I was reminded of that when I traveled to the beaches of Normandy with my own family and watched as my 3 kids rubbed sand on the headstones of the men who fought and died that day. What our country asked of those soldiers to do is almost unfathomable. Not even 100 years later, jump off a transport vessel in the low light of dawn, run headfirst into enemy fire, and establish a beachhead on a continent totally overtaken by an evil regime. But just as Lieutenant Governor Britt's courage and grit were typical of his generation, so too was that generation typical of the ones who came before. It was those same qualities that kept Washington's limping Continental Army alive at Valley Forge, that allowed a ragtag group of Cajuns and pirates to throw back British regulars at New Orleans, that stood strong at the Alamo and repulsed Pickett's charge and captured San Juan Hill. Ordinary men, farmers, merchants, even NFL players doing extraordinary things. Britt's exceptionalism did not end when he returned from the battlefield. He was part of a group of young lawmakers that finally turned the page on Orville Faubus and segregation and built the Arkansas that each of us enjoy today. And as the first Republican lieutenant governor of Arkansas since Reconstruction, he paved the way for my dad to take on that same role 26 years later. It might sometimes seem that men like Footsie Britt are few and far between these days. But just because the flame he carried flickers does not mean it cannot burn bright for years to come. And just as young Arkansans look up at statues of the Little Rock Nine, or at the inscription at War Memorial Stadium, or at the monuments to our founding fathers in Washington, now they can look up to Footsie Britt and rediscover the decency and the bravery that made America the greatest nation in the world. And hopefully they can grow up to embody the qualities of the men who made it possible. To all those who made this memorial to Footsie and our greatest generation, thank you and God bless. I know his legacy will stand strong for generations to come. Thank you so much for this incredible moment for our state.
It's now my pleasure to bring up the author of the legislation in our General Assembly that facilitated this bust that we'll unveil in a few minutes. State Representative Joey Carr, representing District 34, was the lead sponsor of Act 657 of 2025. Mr. Carr.
Good morning to the Britt family, to our federal and our state officials. Thank you for being here. Mr. Kevin Cressy, we thank you for your work. And at this time, I would just like to say a special thank you to all of our veterans. It's an honor to participate in today's dedication ceremony of one of the greatest generation's greatest, and we're proud to say he's from Arkansas. His bravery was meritoriously acknowledged 4 separate times in a 5-month period from September of 1943 to January of 1944, leading to Captain Britt being the first recipient of the top 4 combat decorations for valor awarded to an infantryman in the United States Army during World War II. 40 years ago, I had the pleasure of hearing Captain Britt speak. I was a senior at Bryant High School in 1986-87, and he addressed our senior class. Unfortunately, I didn't get to meet him, but I just feel like this is a little bit of a full circle event for me. In January of 2025, Jeff Pitchford from Congressman Hill's staff met in my office. Jeff, knowing my background as a former social studies teacher, American history, history buff, and Jeff presented me with a great opportunity, and I appreciate him and Congressman Hills for allowing me to do so. I'm honored to be the lead sponsor in the commission of this bust. It's one of the most exciting professional achievements that I've experienced, and it's a great way for me to celebrate my birthday. So this is the largest gathering I've ever had for my birthday, and I've not had distinguished guests like I've had today, so I appreciate that opportunity. But this tribute is long overdue. Captain Britt served the United States in the Allied forces during World War II. He dedicated War Memorial Stadium, where we get to see the Razorbacks play in the state championships for Arkansas high school football that take place. He served in the state of Arkansas as lieutenant governor. He also served as the state chairman for the Crippled Children's Hospital and for Easter Seals. So he lived a life of always giving back. I'm truly grateful again for Congressman Hill's initiative regarding this project, allowing me to be a part of the partnership with the Secretary of State's office, the support of Governor Sanders, and my fellow legislators in the Arkansas Senate and House of Representatives. God bless us today, God bless the state of Arkansas, and God bless America.
Well, as you've heard, Arkansas is home to many heroes in uniform, past and present, and that makes it extra special for all of us to welcome America's Deputy Secretary of the Department of Veterans Affairs to our state capitol. Paul Lawrence serves as the 11th Deputy Secretary of the Veterans Affairs Department, and among his many accomplishments, Dr. Lawrence served as a captain in the United States Army, graduated from Army Airborne School, and awarded the Meritorious Service Medal. During the first Trump administration, he was at the Veterans Administration, and importantly, oversaw the delivery of $100 billion in direct benefits to millions of veterans across our state. So we're grateful when you were Undersecretary for Benefits, your support of our veterans here in Arkansas, and we're so glad to welcome you back to Arkansas. Ms. Secretary, welcome.
There are men whose courage is difficult to describe, not because the facts are unclear, but because the facts themselves seem impossible. Maurice Britt was one of those men. Before the war, he was an Arkansas boy who made it all the way to the NFL, the kind of story that makes the state proud. But on Hillside in Italy on November 10, 1943, the nation discovered what Arkansas already knew, the full measure of the man. Outnumbered, under fire, already wounded with a bullet through his side and grenade fragments across his chest, face, and hands. Most men would have sought cover. Maurice Britt led a counterattack. He fought through his wounds, rallied his soldiers, and held his position until his men were safe. For those actions, he received the Medal of Honor. But the story didn't end with that citation. He fought on in Anzio until in February 1944, when an artillery shell severed his right arm and left shrapnel throughout his body. His war was over. His service was not. He returned home carrying more valor than almost any American soldier of his generation: the Medal of Honor, Distinguished Service Cross, Silver Star, and Bronze Star. Yet the measure of his life was never the medals he wore. It was the service he continued to give long after the uniform came off. He served 2 terms as lieutenant governor. He devoted the years that followed to public service, and he demonstrated what every veteran understands. Service doesn't end with the uniform. It becomes part of who you are. For men like Maurice Britt, it became a way of life. So too did the lasting wounds of war. For more than half a century after the war, Maurice Britt entrusted VA with his care. He spent his final days at the VA Medical Center here in Little Rock. He died in our care. As Deputy Secretary, that's a fact I reflect on with humility, because caring for veterans is more than our mission. It's how we fulfill our nation's promise to the men and women who've worn its uniform. Maurice Britt trusted the VA with his care, and we hope every eligible veteran will know they can place that same trust in us. To every veteran here today who's earned VA care, know that VA is here for you. Our commitment is simple: to serve every veteran as faithfully as they have served this nation. Today we honor the promise in another way. Today we place his likeness in stone in the capital of the state that shaped him. But no monument can fully capture what Maurice Britt was. Monuments honor the past, and what Maurice Britt demonstrated was timeless: courage in the face of impossible odds, duty that never ended, service beyond self. His story belongs to history. His example belongs to all of us. And today, the nation pauses to honor both. To the Britt family, thank you for sharing Captain Britt with Arkansas, with this nation, and with generations of veterans. To Governor Sanders and Congressman Hill, and to everyone who envisioned this dedication and tribute and made this possible, thank you for ensuring that future generations will always have a place to come and learn his story and be inspired by his life. May God bless the Britt family and the great state of Arkansas. May God bless our veterans, their families, caregivers, and survivors, and may he continue to bless the United States of America. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Secretary, and thank you also for spending time today with our veterans at Fort Roots and hearing about how we're doing in delivering service across our state. We're grateful for your time in Arkansas. I now would like to invite to the podium the Arkansas Secretary of State, Cole Jester, in his responsibility as Secretary of State to receive and accept the bust on behalf of the state of Arkansas. So, Cole, if you'd come forward, please.
I'm Cole Jesters, Arkansas Secretary of State, and today it is my honor and privilege to accept this bust on behalf of the Arkansas Capitol. If I could talk to you, my pledge to you as Footsie's family is, what will we have this bust here for today? We will have it so that when people see it, they will know, in a world that is competing, do we define ourselves by what we consume, shallow pleasures, or something that feels good in the moment, something that is easy, or do we define ourselves as something different? Do we follow the model set 2,000 years ago of servant leadership, the sacrifice, whether it be of Christ, of people who serve so deeply and put service first? This monument will be a flag in the ground that in Arkansas we will choose service. That is my pledge to you, and that is what we will tell every person who comes here, whether it be a dignitary or a fifth grader, that Footsie Britt chose service, and in Arkansas we will too. It is my honor to accept it on behalf of our state. Thank you.
Let me. Oh, yeah. That's good. It's Not in there. Chancellor, come on up here. Charles Robinson, the top Razorback, is here in the house. Give him a round of applause.
Good morning, everyone. My part will be very brief, and I brought our head football coach, Ryan Silverfield. Be- I want Ryan to understand that people like the chancellor and the university better when he wins football games. So I thought he needs to understand that and brought him up front. And he's happy to be here. We want to honor the family of Captain Britt with a gift that we're giving. And we thought about bringing a Razorback from the late 1930s or 1940, but instead we're bringing a picture of War Memorial Stadium because the War Memorial Stadium was so important to Captain Britt. And here it is. So again, just want to honor the family with this gift. Thank you so much.
Let me invite now the members of the Britt family to come forward to join our Secretary of State. Kevin Cressy, come up, please. Representative Carr, Deputy Secretary Lawrence. Let's invite our other constitutional officers if you come up too. So, Deputy Secretary, come forward. Lieutenant Governor, Governor. Yeah. So come on up, and family, let's get the family right behind the bust. And Governor, if you'd come in, please, and Secretary. If you're